Alright, I know there was some confusion about how to set up Wi-Fi properly on a Sophos unit with built-in Wi-Fi. I was talking to Kyle and how you got at Integrity were used to creating the internal Wi-Fi bridge to the internal network, and then creating a separate Wi-Fi for guests. So the way that we were trying to do it is technically right. There was just a tiny little thing that we were trying to do wrong, and that's why it wasn't working properly. So I'm going to go through. This is an SG-125. It has just two interfaces, the internal and the external setup. Nothing else, just the standard firewall rules. That's it. It's basically after you finish the setting up the wizard, this is pretty much what you end up with. So first step is to turn on your wireless protection. What we want to allow is the internal. And we're going to do the internal Wi-Fi first and the guest second. Then we go to oops, I am sorry, I already had that one. So let's create a new one called internal Wi-Fi. And this is an important bit. For the internal one, you want to bridge it to the AP LAN. And the algorithms set it to TKP and AES. That is it. Next step, you want to go to our access points and make sure that the one that we just created is going to be bridged to the local Wi-Fi 0. Now, this is a key point that we were doing wrong. We were trying to do new interface and then create a bridge, and only this one would show up, but we want to bridge it with this one, the internal. So what we do instead is we edit the existing internal one and we create the bridge here. And there we can select our internal interface with the internal Wi-Fi. And that is it. Now, the only things that you want to make sure that are running is you need to have an add rule that if you haven't set it up, you should, else your clients won't have Wi-Fi. So create a new masquerading rule, and we want it from the internal network over to the external, and that is it. And turn it on, and we're gonna see if that connects. I have my laptop next to me. Internal Wi-Fi. This should just take a second. There we go. There's my laptop client connected since 12 seconds. And I'm checking that my Google is working. Yes, so that is good. Now we want to set up a separate guest Wi-Fi. So we're going to go to wireless networks, set up a new one called Guest Wi-Fi. I'm just going to name them the same for the sake of it. In this one, we want to have a separate zone and change the protocol again and make sure that client installation is disabled. So Wi-Fi guests can't talk to each other. Now we have this one. Then we do have to create a new interface for our new Wi-Fi. And we're going to call this Guest Wi-Fi. And under hardware, this is our Wi-Fi 1. Remember, Wi-Fi 0 or WLAN 0 was our internal, so this is the external. And this we wanted to one that isolated, so we could get a network like that, or if you want it neat, you can have, if you know it's going to be small, let's give it that. Turn that one on. Go again to your NAT. We're going to create a new masquerading rule. This time it does show up. Remember, we used the internal before, so we do want to use the Guest Wi-Fi, and go to the external, turn that on. Now you want to make sure that there is also a DHCP server running if we're going to be doing this for them, and let's give it the range 10 to 199. DNS servers, if you want to use the same. And now you gotta remember, since this is a completely new interface, we do want a new firewall rule. And our source is gonna be the Guest Wi-Fi. We can have, for example, web surfing and, I don't know, terminal applications. Let's do that. And our destination, you could do the external if you want to make sure that they just go out, or if you're feeling confident, do any. And that is it. And did I forget? We have that, we have that. Oh, I did forget. You do need to allow them to also have DNS. So we want to allow both the Guest Wi-Fi and the internal. And that should be it. So we still have my one client that's connected to the internal right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to connect to the one that's of course not showing up. Oh, I did not group it, that's why it wasn't showing up. So we want to add it to my access point, and now it should, yeah, now my SSIDs are both there, and just waiting for it to show up, which it's not. Missing that. There we go. Okay, that should be it. That's right, that's right. My access points are good. Of course, the demo effect. My laptop has decided not to do anything anymore, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to do it on my phone. So test 1 2 3 1 2 3, and there my client should show up any second now. I had to connect my phone because my computer decided to stop working. Takes a second to refresh, but I already have internet. Ah, there we go. That's my cell phone connected to my Guest Wi-Fi, and I can switch to my internal to make sure that the internal is still working. Test 1 2 3 1 2 3. Connect. So as a quick recap, First of all, you want to enable wireless protection. You want to create the internal Wi-Fi first. Make sure that the grouping is set inside here to your access points. Of course, if you have more access points if you have external ones, you can add them to the group and select which SSIDs you want to broadcast. After that, you go to your interface and remember to edit your internal. So you want to edit that, make it a bridge, add your internal Wi-Fi to it, and that is it. So as long as you have your basic firewall rules for your internal network and you have a NAT rule, that should be it. You don't need to do anything else. If you want to then create a network for guests, make sure that you have client isolation enabled and that it is in a separate zone. Then you gotta go back to the interfaces and create a new interface. And remember, before you put in the type, just click on hardware and it should show up the new Wi-Fi that you created. Make sure it's on a different network. Then you want to make sure that it's allowed on DNS, that you have a DHCP set up for your guest Wi-Fi with an acceptable range. Make sure that you have the proper rules into your network protection. I believe that as long as there is no rule going from guest Wi-Fi to any of your internal networks, you don't need to make a deny. So then make sure that you have another masquerading rule, guest Wi-Fi to external, and that's it. So if you have any questions, just hit me up.